Hello, and welcome to Career Chat, where each and every Wednesday we talk to members in the community about their exciting career, ask them questions about their journey, and just see, what steps they took to get to where they are today. I am your host, Shannon Crooks, and I am a librarian three at the Hillcrest Heights branch of the Prince George's County Memorial Library System. On today's show, we have Dr. Dwaynia Wilson. She is an acupuncturist and she's going to tell us about her career journey. So, first off, welcome, Dwaynia.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I'm so excited to be here. This
I'm
is really
excited to have you. And just to let our audience know, Dwaynia and I practiced social work for several years before Dwaynia decided to go back to school and start a new career. So I'm excited to hear how things are going with Dwaynia and to learn more about acupuncture because it's interesting to me um, personally. So hopefully our audience will learn more too.
yes. I'm glad. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, thank you. So,
Mhm.
Dwaynia, first question is, how long have you been in this industry?
So I started seeing patients in 2015. So
Oh,
5 years is when I
wow.
started seeing patients. And
Okay.
I say that way because it was in clinic at school. And
Mhm.
the amount of experience that you get there, I'm not going to discredit that. So,
Wow. So, that leads us into the next question. What was your educational path from high school to where you are now?
so after high school, I got my bachelor's in social work.
Mhm.
And so I did that. That was 4 years. The master's of acupuncture is 3 years of academia, but
Mhm.
then it's as long as it takes for you in the clinic. I took it on as a full-time job, so I was out with my master's in 3 years.
Mhm.
However, at the same time I was in a master's program, the doctorate program got accredited. And so
Mhm.
I was far enough in the master's program to start the doctorate program. And then it only added 4 more months to my 3 years. And I was able to start practicing um, when I finished my master's and
Mhm.
use those experiences towards my doctorate. So that was three and a half years additional.
Wow. So, what made you want to get the doctorate while in the master's program?
There is a little bit of um, respect that comes with that title, especially in our community. And
Mhm.
so it does give you a little more weight and it opens up more opportunities so that I can partner with, say, hospitals a little easier,
Mhm.
and mostly connect with different doctors in the community because they recognize that doctoral level of education. They're like, oh, even though I don't know exactly what you do as an acupuncturist, you're a doctor. And I said, okay,
Wow.
let's do it.
Wow. So was it
Yes.
strenuous to continue on in the doctoral program from a master's program?
The overlap is not something I would suggest. Like, and depending on what your life looks like, I'm not married. I don't have children, so I
Mhm.
didn't have other people to take into consideration. If you're married and you have children, take your time. Take your time. There's people that have gotten sick because they're trying to push too much, and they
Mhm.
have those other factors which I didn't. So I was like, why would I take it slow when it's just me?
Mhm.
Um, and I would not suggest it. I don't even know if it's an option to do it anymore because we were the first cohort to have that opportunity. I
Mhm.
don't think they allow you because it wasn't healthy. So we
Wow.
needed a lot of acupuncture.
Wow. That's so
Mm-hmm.
interesting. A lot of our viewers are probably thinking about going back to school, and they do have those extra things to think about their
Yes.
kids, their husband or wife, and the family life and responsibility along with going to school and working can be a lot. So I'm glad you
It's
brought that up. It's for people to really look at their life and
yeah.
see what works for them before they decide to go into any type of educational program. Next
Especially the
question.
travel. So
Okay.
my school was up and it's technically Laurel, but it's right at the Columbia Laurel line.
Mm-hmm.
So I lived in DC, and you have to take into consideration the commute.
Mm,
And if you're going into clinic, and how many days are you going to be there? So a lot of the logistics you really need to pay attention to. Now, of course, a lot of things are online, and
mm-hmm.
still with that, it's like, okay, what's going on in the house? Is it
Mm-hmm.
an option to really focus and do this? Because you
Mm-hmm.
want to get the most out of the experience.
Mm.
That's the big thing. You really want to get the most out of your education. You're paying for it, or
Mm.
someone else is. Either
Yeah,
way,
that's true. So when you say clinic, what does that look like? What's that process like?
it's so fun. Clinic is when patients at this school we had to recruit our own patients,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's as if someone was coming to visit me for treatment in my own space. And we have a supervisor, we have someone that shadows you, and
Mm-hmm.
so that way the patient comes in and it's a beautiful space. It's absolutely gorgeous and relaxing, and it's
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. And we give them tea and water. It's very spa like.
Okay.
And we nice interview with them and see what they're there for. And then with the collaboration of our instructors as well as our shadow um, acupuncturist, then we
Mm-hmm.
come up with a beautiful treatment plan for them, and they get treatment.
Well, what do people come to you for acupuncture for?
Shannon, the whole entire gamut of life,
Mm,
from help, I'm always late to everything, to my back hurts, I can't move, to I
mm,
have high blood pressure, to I think I want to get a divorce. I can't handle this stress, or my legs about to fall off, my knees hurt. I
mm.
get literally everything. And
Wow.
they pay me to stab them.
Wow. With the needles. Oh yeah, maybe for people who don't know what acupuncture is, tell people because that we may have a few viewers who are like, what are they talking about?
That's
So let's
so
start there.
acupuncture is an ancient medicine. A lot of times it's credited to China, but that's
Mhm,
because of the documentation.
mhm,
But as many of us know, that it all started on the motherland, and there's documentation of it in Egypt as well as in what was Nubia.
mhm,
So there's things that we do called cupping, where
mm,
it's like you put a cup on someone's body and it draws toxins out, but it's really loosening up the muscles. So
mm,
that's part of it. Putting tiny, and when I say tiny, I would show you on screen, but it's so skinny you can't
mhm,
see it.
mhm.
The needle is about the size of a piece of hair.
Wow.
Hmm. They're
Wow.
really little. They're really little. They're really little. So if most people see the handle and they think, "Oh my gosh, I don't want
Mhm,
anyone to. Don't stick me out like needles." It's fine, and most of the time you don't feel it. So
mm,
if someone comes in for pain, I don't necessarily treat them at the site of pain. I treat them at a place that corresponds to the pain.
mhm.
So say they're having neck pain, I might treat them at their ankle.
Oh, wow.
Hmm. It's
Wow.
really fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do people have to pay for this service or do they use their insurance for it?
It's neat because times are changing. And so insurance is now covering it,
Mhm.
but not all practitioners take insurance.
Okay.
So if you do have insurance that covers it, I highly recommend going to see someone that does take insurance.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of reasons on the back end because of our system is a little different than a lot of other countries. It's just, come on, everybody gets acupuncture.
Mhm.
Here, it's a little more challenging. You almost have to prove for insurance purposes, you almost have to prove that you need acupuncture,
Mm.
but acupuncture is preventative medicine.
Mm.
So you don't need to have anything wrong to get acupuncture.
Mhm.
So for those that are looking to keep their life well or progress where things are going good, then insurance doesn't cover it. And then you can see someone that has a private practice. And then there is community acupuncture. It's extremely affordable. Most of the time, it's like a sliding scale, anywhere from $5 to $30. And it's usually in a group of people that are seated in a circle.
Oh,
It might be
okay.
on their ears, it might be done on their wrists or their ankles, things like that. Um, and then there's some colleagues I know that treat veterans for free, doing different services for them, as well as a lot of times people give educators and like first responders either discounts or free treatments too. So there
Wow.
is it's a gamut, and then there's also like the fancy smancies that do facial rejuvenation, and there is no coverage for that. That's out your pocket, and that's a pretty penny.
Wow. How much is that usually?
It's usually close to $200 a treatment.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. And what's all involved with that treatment?
So that one you get a ton of needles in the body. So it's usually anywhere 20 to 30 needles in the body. That's not common. Most of the time, if you're coming in for just treatment, you might use a total of 10 needles the whole session. But for facial cosmetic acupuncture, it's 20 to 30 needles in the body, and it's sometimes 30 to 50 needles in the face.
Oh my
The
goodness.
interesting thing is you don't feel it. You don't feel it because your body is so relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't feel it. And then it also has the cupping, but it has cupping for the face.
Mm-hmm.
And then gua sha, which is like a jade tool that does sculpting and things like that on the face too. So that all of that's involved.
Wow, I've never heard of that type of acupuncture. I've just heard of the ones where if you're, have issues with your body, they do it, but not
Mhm.
cosmetic. Wow, that is so interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever done cosmetic before?
Yep, that's my specialty actually, because
Oh,
in the middle of that, when after we worked together, I became an esthetician.
mhm.
So
Okay.
skincare, facials were my focus. Um, and it's fun, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be the patient too, because for you to see results, you have to come consistently and regularly. It's about 10 to 12 treatments.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a
So when
lot.
you say come consistently, what do you mean? Every month or every couple of weeks?
So like for facial rejuvenation, you can do up to 2 to 3 treatments a week.
Mm-hmm.
However, the goal for acupuncture is from this, I'll say this. My goal as an acupuncturist is to not stay in your life. So
Oh,
what I
okay.
want to do, because there's a lot of counseling involved, which is where our backgrounds come in
Mm-hmm.
handy,
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot of empowerment, a lot of teaching you tools, teaching you awareness, like what's going on with your body. Like, okay, if this showed up, oh, did you get enough sleep? Do you need to change a pillow? Like, did you drink enough water? Are you eating what your body needs versus just eating to eat?
Mm-hmm.
A whole bunch of different ways to treat yourself. So, like, say someone comes to me, initially, I'm going to have you come 4 treatments back to back, and that would ideally be once a week. Now, in
Mm-hmm.
China, they see you every day, but they also pay $5 for treatment.
Mm-hmm. I wonder
So,
why in other countries it's so accepted, but in the United States it's a little taboo to do any type of holistic medicine or
hmm,
treatment.
how far down that rabbit hole you want me to go?
I've
So,
just always wondered that.
it's about prevention in other countries. Like it's almost as if they can see the what's ahead,
Mhm.
and it's like, why go that way? We can do something to prevent it. Like think about it. Other countries have siestas in the middle of the day.
Mhm.
They have mandatory holidays where it's like you're not coming to work for all of August.
Mhm. Mhm.
Go on vacation. There's some countries where you get the company will get fined if they email you after hours.
Wow. Wow, I
So
didn't know that. Mm.
there's a lot of value systems that we don't have quite in place in America yet. And you
Mhm.
also have to follow the money.
Mm. Mhm.
So it's one of those things. It's like acu. Okay, if I don't know if this is one of the questions, but as an acupuncturist, you make the money on your own terms.
Okay.
And that, like I said, with insurance may or may not cover it. So you don't have that financial support backing and supporting what you do as a healer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
yeah, it's
Wow.
tricky. It's very
Wow.
tricky.
So, how did you get your clientele? Because I know a lot of doctors struggle with that when they first come out of school. They're trying to build their client base and get their
Yeah.
patients. How did you handle that?
Um, the grace. It was grace. So, and it's interesting that you say that a lot of doctors do struggle with that, because I was at a spa and that spa is booming. It's wonderful. I had been there for almost 10 years as an esthetician. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this should be easy. The clients are right here. They already know me.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my aesthetic clients did not shift over and become my acupuncture clients. They were so used to me doing their brows that
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like challenging for them to shift into me being Dr. Dwaynia. And I'm like, we have therapy session every time I do your wax. It's not different.
Wow. Wow. That is
So it was
interesting.
challenging.
Wow. It would almost seem like they would want to shift because they trust you. They've seen you for a long time. So now, okay, this is another treatment that, I trust this person. They know me, they know my body, but they resisted.
They
Wow.
really resisted. Marketing is a big piece of acupuncture. So when you're in school, there are marketing classes that you take.
Hmm.
However, you really have to know business. Like, you almost need to take an like business courses, not just I'm in acupuncture school taking an acupuncture marketing class. You almost need to take business courses. If I didn't have that background at the spa, I wouldn't have been able to shift and then market to people that don't know me as an esthetician. And
Hmm.
then that's how I was able to build clientele. And it was interesting because even though I was doing facial cosmetic,
Hmm.
most of the people coming in were couples.
Hmm.
Um, and I ended up having a lot of babies. So I wound up becoming not a like fertility specialist, but I wound up getting a lot of people pregnant.
Wow. Through
Yeah,
acupuncture.
through acupuncture.
Wow. I never knew that that would be a treatment for infertility or
Yes,
anything with it.
it's beautiful, and it couples, like, say people are going through IVF or other fertility pathways. It
Hmm.
couples beautifully with acupuncture, so it doesn't mess up anything else that they're doing or they're trying to do. And that whole gamut of bringing a child into this earth, like even postpartum things like that.
Hmm.
Treat that.
Wow, that is so
Yeah.
interesting. I'm learning so much. I never knew that that was a treatment for
Yeah.
infertility. Wow.
Mhm.
So do you get a lot of doctors that refer patients to you for that, for infertility? No?
Mm-mm.
Why do you think that is?
Money.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think it boils down to money. A lot of, unless there is the conversation and there's already that relationship,
Mhm.
a lot of physicians don't look at acupuncture as being complementary, and it totally is. Like, we don't do anything to take you away from your physician. We're not saying get off your medication. We're not saying, don't go to the doctor, don't go to the emergency room. We're saying go. And
Mhm.
if, there's long-term recovery from that, or if there's some support that you need from it, because life is stressful. So we
Mhm.
help manage the holistic aspect. Go to your physicians that have the specialty in those things. But I
Mhm.
think they look at it as we're taking that money out of their pocket. But it's
Mhm.
like, no, we can work so beautifully together,
Mhm.
really beautifully together, because they know so much. They
Mhm.
know so many things that we have no idea about. And at the
Mhm.
same thing, if I tried to tell them how to read pulses, they would look at me like I was crazy, because it's
Mhm.
not the same as reading blood pressure.
Right.
So
Wow.
we can come together.
Mhm. Work together. Wow,
Hmm.
so interesting, Dwaynia.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about working at a spa. What was your employment journey throughout this process of being an acupuncturist?
So I worked at the spa where I was already employed before and during school too. Um, I had a beautiful opportunity. I've always wanted to live in New Orleans because
Mm-hmm.
I kept visiting and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Time to go. And there's a franchise company that is, I'll refrain from saying their name. So there's a
Okay.
franchise company
Mm-hmm.
that does provide an opportunity, which is extremely rare in acupuncture, where
Mm-hmm.
you are then a salaried employee.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen in our field.
Wow.
It's extremely rare. So I took the opportunity because they were opening a location in Louisiana, not
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans, not the city of New Orleans, but 2 hours away.
Hmm.
It was definitely a world away. It was it's a really neat city, but I was like, oh, I didn't come here for this.
Wow.
And at the same time, it was so cool because I got to help open a business, which I had some experience doing. Got to help open a business, help them put the infrastructure into place, do a lot of marketing, do a lot of interviews, stuff on the news, talk, partnering with physicians, at least giving them the information of what
Mhm,
we're doing while we're there.
mhm,
And we got to see a high volume of patients.
mm,
So I learned yet another branch of acupuncture, which is how I know, like, oh, I can treat somebody's neck by treating their ankle. I got
mhm,
to learn a whole nother branch of acupuncture being there. It
mhm.
was beautiful.
Wow.
Then, once I got that set up, then I went and started my own practice in New Orleans.
Mhm,
And I would highly suggest if you're opening your own practice, have a full team. So I
mm,
did all the things. I was answering the phones, checking emails, taking payments, scheduling appointments,
mm.
cleaning. I was like, oh, I did this. I'm not sure
Wow.
I should have done it like this.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
I wound up having my own practice.
Wow. Did you hire a
Yeah.
team after some time?
COVID hit.
No. Oh. So how did that impact your business?
COVID, oh, it's interesting because you really have to be creative. So now there's more telehealth.
Mhm,
So, and this is the good thing about my patients were all in good places before COVID hit.
mhm,
Like they weren't having the things that they came in the door for. They're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And like not even on the radar. So
mhm,
it's more so now about supporting them and using their tools, be it meditation,
mm,
exercise, and giving them nutrition plans and things that will help facilitate where they are and help them maintain health and reduce stress during
mhm,
this time.
mhm,
So things have shifted. I've physically closed my doors,
mhm.
but I still get to connect using technology.
Oh, wow. So have you seen any of the patients that um, got infected with COVID and maybe they're long haulers and they still have symptoms of the disease?
I haven't, but a lot of colleagues have. Because I closed my doors because I said there's so many precautions that need to be in place. And colleagues that have teams like front desk staff and things like
Mhm,
that, they were able to stay open. But as a one person show, I was like, I'm gonna no, I'm not gonna do it. And but a lot of the colleagues that stayed open
mhm,
have, and they are seeing lung health like significantly reduced, even if the person is they had COVID at the beginning of the season and
mhm,
now they don't, but they're still seeing some residuals. Like a lot of people are seeing like these mild headaches
mhm,
and people that tend to linger and people that didn't have headaches before, like that wasn't a concern.
mhm,
And then breathing. So they're seeing symptoms of asthma. So we call it like lung qi deficiency,
mhm,
where it's very weak, but it attacks a lot of the kidneys. So
mhm.
adrenal fatigue is big right now too. So
Wow.
really teaching people to manage their stress
Mhm,
and getting that balance, like get outside, get some sunlight,
mhm,
and actually get some rest. Like turn off your devices and get some rest.
Mm.
That's showing up a lot.
Wow. So when you
Mhm.
closed your doors, what did you do when you closed your private practice?
Part of me, the honest truth, part of me was relieved because as a business owner,
Mhm.
it's a big responsibility. And I
Mm.
knew that as far as like maintaining, of course, we already keep everyone safe, but then to take it up another level and not spread this disease that is still being, people are finding out about.
Mhm.
I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And so there was a bit of a weight relieved,
Mhm.
like, okay. So I felt some relief with that. I also felt some sadness because I'm like, this is my business. I put a lot of work and a lot of money of marketing and all of that into
Mhm.
place. And then just shifting space because then I personally had to reevaluate, do I need to stay here? My family is not here.
Mhm.
Do I need to stay here? Does this actually make sense?
Mhm.
So I
Wow.
checking out where I'm going to land. Yeah, there's a lot to that too.
Wow. So viewers, a lot of people are in this situation with COVID. It has impacted us in ways that we never would have thought it would. And so, like Dwaynia, you may have to make a tough decision about, your career. Do you want to continue with the way things are now, or do you want to self-reflect and reevaluate, your career and see if you want to go in a different direction? I think that's extremely important because some people are just saying, I don't know what I'm going to do. And this is the time to really self reflect. Take a look at, what's working, what's not working, and see what the next steps are.
Mhm.
Next question, Dwayne, is what advice do you have for someone wanting to become an acupuncturist?
Do it. I think that even I have some colleagues in my cohort. Some of them don't practice, some of them do practice, but we can all say, and we actually just kept in touch with each other and reconnected with each other, that the experience of learning acupuncture
Hmm.
and of course being there together, but what we learned, we'll use these tools for life. And it doesn't matter if you go into a different field, because people are like, oh, you just learn where to put the needles. And it's like,
Hmm.
that's part of it.
Hmm.
Because the whole year before we even started or even touched a needle, we were able to treat each other with our words.
Mm.
So we have a saying that's called the word as needle. Diane Conley, our instructor and the one that founded the school that I went to, she
Hmm.
said, use your words as a needle because
Mm.
you can really impact someone's life. You can impact your own life by
Hmm.
being mindful and intentional on what and how you say what you say.
Mm.
And so I would say to anyone that's like, I don't know if I should go, you will get something out of it. Even
Hmm.
if you don't finish, you will still get something out of it. And
Hmm.
even if you do finish and you go out there and you touch all these lives, heck, you might end up having a bunch of babies like me.
Helping
I've
people
never
where it's
given birth.
needed.
I've never given birth to a single child. I have a bunch of babies.
You've helped people have babies. Wow. That's so interesting because I know a lot of times people, like you said, they'll start a program and they'll say, this is not for me. But when you walk away, you still walk away with something. You learn something that you can use and apply
Yeah.
to your career or your life in general. So thank you
Mhm.
for that because I know a lot of people come into the library and they say, okay, I was doing this or I was in this or that program and it didn't work. So now I feel lost. I feel like that was a waste, but it really wasn't a waste. It added to their life. It added and enriched them as far as knowing more stuff that they could use in other places and having transferable skills is what I like to tell people. Because,
Yes.
you talked about earlier being a social worker and you're still using those skills to counsel people before they start any type of treatment. So it's
Yeah.
so important to understand how you can use your skills in other places and other careers. You never stop learning, essentially.
Never. You don't. And that's the fun part. And then with
Mhm.
acupuncture, you get to learn a new person. And this is the beautiful thing. Historically, they didn't keep notes. Like, as social workers, like when we used to have to keep notes of everything, There were
Mhm.
no notes because I can't treat you off of the past. I have to treat you based off of who is in front of me at this exact moment. So
Mm.
notes don't, why would I refer to notes? That doesn't matter. That's
Mhm.
gone. I mean, now technically we have to keep notes because I got to keep files for 7 years and
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
But I still have to practice being very present with that person. So I will always learn something. And that's the goal, is that for that patient to always learn something too. And
Mm.
so you never stop learning.
Yep. And, that's what good doctors are. They, have a file. Yeah, they've read the file, but when you're in front of them, a doctor that really listens to you right then and there, because something could have happened the day before you came in or the same day, and they may miss it if they don't ask you questions or have consultation with you before they even provide any type of treatment. I look
Yeah.
for that when I go to the doctor, and I hope our viewers do too, because it's so important, especially now with COVID. And we
Mhm.
talked about long haulers who still have symptoms. I watched something on the news, and a lot of them were saying that they had went to some doctors that didn't believe that they still had those symptoms, which was insane to me because, you know, they're having the effects of some, a new virus that we don't know much about, and they're coming for treatment. They're scared. Things are happening that they don't know why it's happening. And then for a doctor to say, "Oh, I don't believe you," is not good. So,
No, that's scary.
mm-hmm.
That is scary.
Yep.
Whew.
Yep. But I'm glad to know that you're not one of those doctors. You ask
No,
questions and you're present with all of your patients, just like when
right.
you were a social worker. Well, you're still a
Exactly.
social worker. You're just
I know.
using it in a different way.
Never thought I would use it again. And I'm like, wait, I don't think I
Yeah.
ever stopped.
Mhm. That's how I felt too. I was like, okay, I'm going to close my social work book of life and I'm moving to librarianship, but I really never closed it because I'm still revisiting those skills that I learned. And it's just so bizarre to me that I am, on a daily basis. But, that's why I'm trying to educate people that whatever you've learned, you're still going to use it in some way or form. It's transferable. And it's a good way
Yes.
to market yourself when you go on interviews, to let people know, hey, I did things this way as a social worker, but it's still applicable to this career that I'm interviewing for now. It's so helpful, for people to know that, I think.
Yes. Big time. You will, anything you've learned, you will use.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to learn it for yourself. You can watch, you can learn something by watching other people. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like sometimes you don't have to go through all the crazy stuff. You can just watch and be like, oh, I don't need to do it like that. Let me try this.
Yes. Being observant.
Being
Yes. So true.
observant.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So true. So, Dwaynia, what kind of obstacles did you face in the pursuit of your profession?
This is gonna sound really crazy, but my social life.
Hmm. Social life.
Social life.
And
Social
you're
life.
an outgoing person, so if you're saying that,
That was the problem. Everyone kept inviting stuff, and I was like, I can't go. I'm in school. But you know how now my friends still give me grief over this? I did something extremely unconventional.
mm,
Extremely unconventional. So because that was one of the biggest barriers, and we had to do an accumulative exam that will then allow you to go into clinic. So if you don't pass it, you're staying and you're repeating quite a few classes to then allow you to get into clinic. Because it's like if you don't know this, how you can't treat people.
mm-hmm.
So I moved away from the school.
What?
And the school is in Maryland. I lived at that time in DC,
Mm-hmm.
and I moved to North Carolina where I went to undergrad.
What?
Because and now this is when I say unconventional, sometimes you have to do some unconventional things.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of living in DC was so high that if I needed to stay where I was, I would have to keep working.
Mhm.
I can't work and study. If I'm doing this to facials all day, I can't turn a page and read a book. So
Mhm.
I wasn't like at a desk or something where I had flex time or anything like that. It was like, this is my schedule. Okay, this is not going to work. And I need to work all of these days to keep a roof over my head.
Mhm.
So I was like, I know the cost of living in North Carolina is half.
Mhm.
I can work one day at the spa, one day at the
Mhm.
spa to cover my expense. At that time, Mega Bus just started from North Carolina to DC. My
Mhm.
mother lived in DC. So I was like,
Mhm.
when I come to town for school, I'll stay with her, drive her car up to school because
Mhm.
she takes the train to work.
Mhm.
So I would come up Sunday nights from North Carolina to DC Sunday nights, go to school Monday, Tuesday, work
Mhm.
Wednesday all day, and get
Mhm.
back on the bus Wednesday night and get here at like some crazy hour in the morning.
Mhm.
And and then I would study Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all day Sunday. So that's
Mhm.
4 days of just like uninterrupted, not going to a concert, not going to a play, not going to hang out with my friends,
Mhm.
focus. And
Mm.
that social life was the biggest hurdle for me. And I was like, y'all aren't gonna stop inviting me, so I'm gonna leave. Cause now I can't.
Wow, that's
It was
so
crazy.
interesting. Wow, so sacrifices for what you want to do. So many people say they want to do something, but then when they hear the work that's involved, they say, I don't know if I want to do that. But sometimes you have to sacrifice to be able to get to where you want to be. I know when I was in grad school for the second time, that's exactly what I had to do. Every weekend, it was studying from Friday through Sunday. Friends would ask me to go places and I had to say no. Friends would want to come over and I had to say no. It was so difficult because I love being around people, but sometimes you just have to do that.
It's
And
true.
know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. When you walk across that stage and get that degree, you're free to be able to go back to your social life. But yes, a huge sacrifice, so hard to do.
Yeah,
So, so hard. So
it is.
I
I wouldn't
understand.
suggest anyone doing it like I did, but do
Hmm.
it. It's worth it. It really is worth it.
Hmm. And then you're doing what you love because you look so happy.
I
Are you
am.
happy? Do you
I
love
am. I
it?
I am. Just because it's another way for people to really come into their lives more fully, right? And
Mhm.
it's like I never would have thought I'd be doing acupuncture, and I loved it. It's so fun.
Mhm.
It's so fun.
Wow. So for our viewers who maybe are thinking about transitioning to a different career, I understand, Dwaynia understands it's a huge decision to make. So what I would suggest is that, you write down the pros and cons of whatever it is you want to do and see, is this something that realistically you can do? If there's some cons on your list, look at how you can turn those cons into pros. How can you get support maybe from your family, like Dwaynia did, by saying, okay, mom, I'm going to move away so that I can afford to pay my bills, but are you going to support me when I have to come back here and go back and forth to school each week? And, her mother said, yes, most likely your family will support you depending on what it is because they want to see you succeed. And so after you do that and you figure out your plan, then you can make the next step. It took me at least 3 or 4 years before I went back to school because I was planning it out. I didn't want to make that jump and then not have the support I needed to succeed. And that is so important. A lot of people tell me they want to do something different or go back to school. And the first question I ask them is, have you sat down and really planned it out? What are some of the obstacles you may face? What does the support look like for you? Financially, do you have the money to be able to make this move or make this decision? Are you going to have to work alongside with going to school, which is another huge situation where you have to really know how to navigate your job, talk to your supervisors, coworkers, see if they'll support you, and then your family life. What does that look like? So after you decide all of that, then you can go forward and conquer your dream. But if you don't have a plan, it can be quite difficult to navigate if you haven't really thought it out. So
Mhm.
it's extremely important. And then, like you said, depending on the program and what's required of you, sometimes I know undergrad, when I signed up to go to undergrad, I didn't know there was going to be internships involved
Mhm.
and that I was going to have to navigate that along with my classes. And so really talking to the school and saying, hey, what does this program involve? What am I going to be responsible for? A lot of schools now have counselors, which I love, that, in addition to your advisor, they may contact you every so often to check in with you. Talk to that person and say, hey, this is my situation. Be realistic, and ask them if it's realistic for you to go forth and conquer this opportunity educationally. So extremely
That's good.
important.
That is good.
Yeah, if you don't have a plan, I just think it's very difficult to do any type of educational or vocational program. And a
Mhm.
lot of us don't have the opportunity or option not to work a regular full-time job. We have bills that we have to pay. So planning it out is huge. Um, I just can't stress that enough. So, Dwaynia, if there are young people who want to try to find volunteer opportunities in acupuncture, what should they do?
I was thinking about this, and I think that the volunteer opportunities with acupuncture are really unconventional
Mm,
because of the medical setting that is different than, being like at a hospital where you used to be like a candy striper or something.
mm-hmm,
So it's almost, if you know someone, I'm trying to think. When I was at the spa, we would have someone come in and support the front desk staff. So if it was like filling up the tea, or they didn't like go through and do like cleaning, but just
mm-hmm,
like, oh, there's a cup here, let me grab this.
mm-hmm,
And they weren't answering phones because there's so many things as far as like HIPAA and
mm-hmm,
privacy,
mm-hmm,
but there's different ways. And I honestly think that, especially with acupuncture, you need to learn the business.
mm-hmm,
So if there is someone that does have an acupuncture practice and they need support, either they've been open for a long time and they need to shred files and things like that,
mm-hmm,
of course you have to go through the HIPAA compliant stuff,
mm-hmm,
but that might be a way to intern. Um, this might sound strange too, but even I feel like yoga studios are popping up more and more, right?
mm-hmm, yeah,
And yoga is all about mindfulness.
mm-hmm,
Or that's a way to increase. You're going to learn the business, because if you're at a yoga studio, you're going to learn the business of that studio,
mm-hmm,
and then you learn about cleaning protocols, things like that, without having to be in that aspect of the medical safety part of it.
mm-hmm,
Because of the insurance purposes, it becomes challenging for that. And granted, like when we're in clinic, we're called acupuncture interns, but that's because we've got the training thus far. So as
mm-hmm,
far as an actual intern, it would more so be on the business side of it. And I think get that anywhere you can.
mm-hmm,
It is imperative. Like that's stuff that you can be taught by a book, but until you see it and you have to actually do it,
mm-hmm,
it's not going to click. And if there's an opportunity to help a small business and
mm-hmm,
intern at a small business, do it.
mm-hmm.
Do it.
Wow. And small businesses, they really welcome people that come in and intern or volunteer because it helps
Yeah.
offset some of the things that they have going on. It's a way for them to get some help without having to pay for it because they might not have the financial means to hire additional staff. And they're always willing to help someone learn a new
Yeah.
skill. I think the ones that I've talked to on this show has said it's extremely important to network with people to get to where they are, and they learn a lot of things along the way that, like you said, a traditional school or class may not teach you. So it's a great opportunity for someone to go in and observe, those real in the moment times where they are learning, as a small business owner. For, if you decide later on you want to open up your own small business, you already know what it's like, you've seen it, you've observed it, and you have knowledge that will help you grow your own business if you decide to do so. So I think that's a great way to learn. And they have the time to really help you and teach you. Some of these big organizations, they don't really have the time to be able to help someone learn.
True. You have to be a self-starter when it comes to like larger corporations and things like that, which is
Mm.
great because if you got the gusto, go for it. And if you're like more shy and reserved, then it's like someone, because you're learning, and someone that's taking you on as an intern understands that.
Hmm.
Now, of course, they want to see some like some confidence, and even if you don't know what you're doing, but you're willing to learn, that's there,
Hmm.
and people are happy to show you,
Hmm.
the. So, yeah.
Yeah, they are very happy. I wish when I was younger, I had explored more opportunities to volunteer at places. I was a little shy. I volunteered very small. I volunteered at the library when I was younger. I thought about Candy Striper because my cousin did it. And I thought that was amazing. They had these amazing uniforms that they wore, and I went with her a couple of times. So for viewers, if you don't know what a candy striper is, they volunteer at the hospital. They help the nurses and the doctors out, and they wear, well, she wore this red and white dress, and I was just so jealous of her. And I would go with her to her job, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. But I never got into that because I think I was a little too shy. But yeah.
I volunteered at the library too.
Oh, you did?
Uh-huh.
I loved it.
I did too.
I just did a couple of hours a week, but I got to learn the librarians, the
Yeah,
customers, get to look at all the books. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
it
But
was.
with COVID happening, there's not a whole lot of opportunities to volunteer at the library right now. We're trying to figure something out, but it's extremely important to get those experiences because now look at me, I'm a librarian, and I thought back to the joy I experienced volunteering. And if I had never done that, I would have never thought to explore this career further. So, yeah, I think volunteering is so important, especially if you volunteer in something that maybe you don't have an interest in being, a career, but it's an opportunity. Say yes to as many opportunities as possible, especially if you're a young person, because you never know what that opportunity will do for you, how it will influence you and impact your life to where in your adult life you can go further with that as a career.
Yep, it's so true.
Hmm.
So true.
Yeah, so I encourage all young people to try to volunteer if possible. And then, young people, if you don't know where to start with your teachers or your mentors and ask them what opportunities they have because you never know who they know that they can connect you to.
That is true.
Dwaynia, yeah. So, what skills? So, since we're talking about young people, what skills do you think they need to have in order to be successful, really in any career?
Most people are, I think, the cliche thing is like, be confident and just put yourself out there. I think the biggest skill they need to have is listening,
Mm.
because there's a lot of stuff that you can learn from just, let me just listen to what they're talking about. Even if you have no clue, just listen. And it
Mhm,
might be like a little nugget of information, and you're like, I don't know what this means. Later down the line, you're like, oh, I
mhm.
heard this somewhere, and now I get to use it.
Mhm,
I find that, and then listening, because then you're going to learn people's names. You're going to learn what people do when you
mhm,
just listen. And I say listening as far as, yes, with your ears, but listen with your heart, listen with your eyes. It sounds
mhm,
crazy, but if you listen with your eyes, like really pay attention to what's going on. Yes, you can ask questions, and most of the time people are going to answer the question that you ask.
mhm,
If you just observe, you wind up getting answers to questions you didn't even know to ask.
mhm,
So just
mhm,
be an observer.
mhm,
That's not to say to not be interactive, right? Still
mhm,
be interactive, still ask questions, still do those things. But I think the most overlooked skill is listening. You really
mhm,
just have to pay attention.
mhm. That is
Like
so
when,
important.
remember
Yes,
that exam.
so
Yeah. It's like read all the questions first, and people start filling out the thing. It's like, read all the questions first, because if you read all the questions, the last one says, just write your name at the top and turn it in. Because people don't pay attention. Pay attention.
Yes, so true. I can remember when I first started at the library, and as a social worker, we're taught that in school: observe and listen before you respond, because you can get a lot of the information ahead of time, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to give you the best response. So when I first came to the library, I noticed all of the staff, they knew the customers' names when they walked in. And I could see how the customers felt when the staff knew their names. So that's something I've carried with me throughout the whole time I've been a librarian, is that it's so important for you to know a person's name. It
Yeah.
connects you to that person. It lets you know, I mean, it lets that person know that you acknowledge them, that you think they're important, that you want to help them. So that's what I always do. And I've had some new staff come in and say, wow, you know all the kids' names, you know all the adults' names. And I said, yeah, I make it my business to know their names. We're here to
Yeah.
serve them. So it's very important to know their name. And that's through listening, asking them questions, if I hear another staff member call their name, I say, okay, that's so and so. So when they come in, I'm going to acknowledge them so I know, that they know who I am. So,
People can practice that now. Like, I literally go to Starbucks every single day. And of course, we have masks on. So
mhm,
I can't, I don't know your face, but from here on up. But
mhm,
I can remember your name, and
mhm,
it's on your tag. So I can
mhm,
say, thank you, such and such.
mhm,
Because you're not seeing smiles now. The connection is really different. So
mhm,
to actually use a person's name, and you can practice this at anything. If you're going to get some food, whoever is giving you that food, if they have their name tag on, because most of them do,
mhm,
say their name. So practice of
mhm,
name. You're right, Shannon. That goes a long way. I still
mhm.
remember people's names from elementary school, first and last. You're like, why do you remember their name? I'm like, because that's important.
Yes,
It's who they are. And how are you
super
going to look up
important.
somebody if you don't know their name?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. So important. And Starbucks just started that practice. They
Yeah.
did not used to ask you what your name was when you placed your order. It was just like, okay, caramel latte. Who has the caramel latte? And everyone's
It's
looking
like
around
six
like,
people got caramel.
yeah. But they realize the importance of someone's name. You know, this
Yes.
is your drink, this is your product. We made it
Yeah.
especially for you. You see? So a lot of
I feel good
people,
just hearing that.
yeah, they don't understand or know that that's, important to people. And it's important for customer service when we're talking about skills, knowing people's names, building a relationship if you're in a customer service realm with the customers, getting to know their name, talking to them, having a conversation with them, and then that conversation could lead to an opportunity. Networking is
Yeah.
extremely huge. I know I've talked to people and they've actually connected me to different opportunities, but that was because I was comfortable enough to have a conversation with them. I listened to them, or I may
Mhm.
have opened the door to an opportunity for them. You just never know.
You
Um,
don't.
just by having conversations with people. One
Yeah.
of the most successful businesses to me that comes to mind is Chick-fil-A. Every
Right.
time you go to Chick-fil-A, they say, my pleasure. And
My
I'm like,
pleasure.
oh, it was their pleasure to serve me today. I feel special. I want to come back here to get that feeling again, that
Yeah.
feeling of I'm important or I'm special. They really get it, because every time people go to Chick-fil-A, the line is literally wrapped around the building. And I think that's because they know that one moment that they make people feel important is what signifies or makes them a different company from another place that offers the
Yeah.
same service. So it's extremely important.
I don't even eat chicken, and I go there and wait in that line for a
Yes.
stretch.
You, it's funny because you don't even realize how long you have to wait, because it's like you're waiting for them to make you feel special for that 1 second. Like if I've had a bad day and I go to Chick-fil-A,
Yeah.
instantly I'm having a better day.
Yep.
That so important for small
Mhm.
business owners. If you're thinking about opening a small business, it is important for you to acknowledge people, make them feel important. And even in your own position, making your coworkers feel comfortable and like you care and support them. Making your supervisor feel like you are receiving the knowledge that they're giving you as your supervisor. These things are important. I think we get so caught up on, I got to get the job. Okay, I got the job. Now what? We have to start thinking about what sets you apart from everybody else, or what sets your organization or your company apart from everybody else. And it's those personal connections that you have with people. So important.
Oh,
So
Shannon.
important. Just like you talked about, I was an esthetician and I had my clientele. And yeah, they may not have transitioned at first. So I had to figure out what I needed to do to support them, to make them feel important, to make them feel special, so that they might want to transfer over to my other business. So important. It's a life skill, basically.
It is.
Huge.
It is.
I had to learn it. It took me a while because I'm shy, but I had to learn that, the importance of connections and relationships with people is so important.
I think there's beauty in the shyness, right? Because a lot of people that are in the forefront and get the limelight and all of that, they get that feedback.
Hmm.
However, I think there is so much power, and now granted, this is a Chinese medicine thing, an acupuncture thing. There's a lot of power when you are reserved, because when it's time to show up, you have the power and you have the resources to do so because you've been collecting them. You haven't been spreading them all over the place. So you're like, oh, they're right here. Oh, you need me? Great. I'm going to
Hmm.
show up fully. You're going to get some quality work. You're going to get quality whatever, because I've been over here reserving these.
Hmm.
So it's like there's power in the shyness.
Yes.
There's a lot of power to that.
And
So,
shy people listen, like you said earlier, they pay attention to stuff and they're
yeah.
collecting that information. So, okay, I'm collecting this. Let me think about it. So when I, come across this situation, I can use the tools and the knowledge that I have through my observations to be a better person and to
Yes.
show up, like you said, in an
So
impactful
anybody
way.
that's shy, just know, don't think you have to be different. Like, utilize that as a strength. Because
Hmm.
someone that's flamboyant, they're gonna get burnt out.
You are so right, Dwaynia. So right. Wow, such an interesting conversation today. I really enjoyed having you on the show. We've talked for our hour. I wish we could talk longer, but unfortunately, we've come to the end. But oh, I learned so much today, Dwayne. Thank you so much. It was also great visiting you again because we haven't seen each other and talked to each other in a really long time since we were in the
Yes.
trenches as social workers trying to find our way. And now
Oh
look
Lord,
at us, we're in a whole different realm of careers. So I'm just so
yeah.
pleased that I was able to talk with you today. Thank you so much. And the last
I'm
question,
grateful you
say that again.
I'm so grateful you reached out to me. I truly am.
Yes.
This is awesome.
Oh, I'm so glad you agreed. Oh, it's just so wonderful hearing about different people's careers and their path and journey. So I appreciate it. And then the last question is for me. What are some resources the library offers people who are maybe new to the job market? Maybe you're switching careers or looking for new work because you've been impacted by COVID-19. Well, you can visit us online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at pgcmls.info. And you can visit our online library. There we have a job and career section, which includes Brain Fuse and the Learning Express library. You can do career assessments, search for jobs. Maybe you need some extra help with your resume or cover letter. There's also feedback there from an online job coach who's there for designated hours each day to support you with that. You can also find resources for veterans. So if you are a veteran, there are resources for you there. If you're a high school student and you're looking to go to college, you can prepare also by doing some assessment tests, or maybe there are some classes that you're struggling with currently in school. We have various sections that will help you prepare for that. And then maybe you just want step by step guidance on discovering your interests, choosing a career, or finding schools or programs that will help support you in your career journey. All of that is there and more. So check us out. If you are a PG County student, you can use your student ID card. That is your library card number to visit and access those resources. And also, if you just live in the community, you can just use your library card and we will be glad to serve you on our website. Also, feel free to call us anytime if you have any questions. There's a librarian there to assist you. So, thank you so much, Dwaynia. Oh,
Oh,
this was a
Shannon,
treat
you're
today.
welcome. Thank you.
And viewers, thank you for joining us. And join us again each and every Wednesday at 3 p.m., where we explore a new and exciting career. Again, I'm Shannon Crooks, Librarian 3 at the Hillcrest Heights branch. Visit me if you would like. We're doing curbside, or visit any of our other 19 locations. Thank you and have a wonderful day.